Welcome to The Secret Truth. I'm George Butler. Along with me this evening is Kevin Shipp. And Kevin, welcome to our program.
Thank you. It's great to be on. Appreciate it.
I tell you, I really enjoyed your speeches, and you're talking about, would you classify yourself as a whistleblower or what? How would you describe yourself?
Well, some call me a whistleblower. I call myself a recovering CIA agent. I came out and blew the whistle on the belly of the beast. I like to refer to myself more as a constitutionalist.
Oh, hey, okay, I'll go for that.
In the Constitution, and that's where I drew the line. But, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Well, I've followed you on YouTube, and this is the first time I've actually met you in person and so forth, and I'm very highly impressed. And you describe this swamp or the deep state in a different way than anyone else. You divide it into two groups. Tell our listening audience and viewing audience how you describe it in two separate groups.
Yes, having come from the belly of the beast, there's a lot of talk about the deep state, and it's good. And it's accurate. Coming from inside the deep state itself, what I observed is it is not just the deep state. There's something that I call the shadow government and the deep state, and they're two separate entities, although they're connected together. The shadow government is the parts of our government that function under the juggernaut of secrecy. There's a global network of secrecy, in this case operated by the CIA, that not even Congress can penetrate. It rules by secrecy. It controls Congress by secrecy, the president, and the judiciary, all three branches, by this unbridled use of secrecy. The deep state is the military-industrial congressional complex, as Eisenhower originally called it, and that's run by money, greed, selling bombs, bullets, and war. The shadow government influences the deep state with the power of secrecy, putting these companies under CIA secrecy agreements, and all their employees from secretaries to CEOs, all bound by CIA secrecy agreements, which threatens prison if they divulge that operation to anyone. So that's how the shadow government controls the deep state, but really they're two separate things.
Well, that is really intriguing because no one, I've been researching this for a number of decades now. No one quite describes it as well as you do. What do you think? Reclassifying the thing that came out of the Eisenhower administration, the military, industrial, I've added financial complexes. What do you think about the financial involved into this? Have you studied that at all?
I have, and I've have a lecture I give on what I call, which largely has been unknown, called the Secret Intelligence Industrial Complex. And these are Lockheed Martin, which is essentially the major spying arm of the CIA. They do about 80% of that. Then you got SEIC, CAIC, which is involved in the torture program. These are all secret companies that work for the NSA, the CIA, the NGA, and the NRO. And these companies are huge, they're massive, they're unelected, they do top secret unreported work that not even Congress knows about under these huge contracts underneath the CIA and the NSA. So you have a whole different, not a military industrial complex, but a secret intelligence industrial complex that is plugged in to our intelligence agencies.
Boy, that is fascinating. I've been studying this financial system for years, and the city of London is right at the core of that financial system. Have you looked at the city of London, the financial center, at all?
Well, you talk about the New World Order that started over in the UK, and actually they're still pushing for that. And all of this is tied in with London, and especially the United States, with the bankers, and the CIA actually goes into countries to topple governments because of the oil and because of the resources, the mineral resources, or the strategic position. Not national security, not to defend the American people, but to advance the central banks, much of which are influenced by the UK and Britain. And that whole process actually dictates what the CIA is going to do, what government it's going to try to overthrow or infiltrate next. It's all financial.
Right. I've studied the city of London, and they have their own police force and so forth, and it's actually they're an entity unto themselves, a separate from the greater London area itself.
Yes, and of course they were very upset when we seceded from Britain, but they've got us back financially now because they're controlling our banking system. So they're back. Most Americans don't know that, but the UK has come back and taken control of the U.S. via the banking system, the Federal Reserve, and the financial system is now largely controlled from London.
Right. We supported Ron Paul early on, and he had a series of "End the Fed." And do you think that that President Trump is going to be addressing the Fed problem at all, or not?
He's addressing it already. He has threatened an audit for the first president in a long, long time. I think he's listened to Ron Paul, who I think is a real constitutionalist. And Trump has alluded to someday the Fed needs to be audited. Now the question is, does he, in the role of the president, have the power to go up against that entire secret system? It's not federal. It's not a federal agency. It's private, and it doesn't have a reserve. It has no gold, no nothing. It's staffed by foreign banks who operate in secret with a secret budget and has never been audited. Trump has indicated that it needs to be audited, which is huge. But will he be able to do it with all the other wars he's fighting? We'll see.
Well, yeah, this is, we've got some production here in the main room that's coming over. A little bit of a thunder and lightning program,
right,
but isn't that right? What's going on?
Interviewers for
it's
all
thunder
seasons.
and lightning time, man.
It's kinda...
And you know what? I admire you and really respect you, Kevin, because you stood up. You went through hell trying to come out of that system, did you not?
I did. They tried to eliminate me twice. They went after my family, who are still suffering. They took away my retirement. They hit me with a state secrets privilege. I had enough evidence. A federal judge ordered them to a mediated settlement. I had affidavits. I had environmental test samples. I had photographs of them following our family. And so the judge ordered them to a settlement. They settled. They signed it. I have the document on my website, which used to be sealed. And we won. So what they did was they turned around and they invoked the state's secrets privilege, shut our case down, sealed all my evidence, even from Congress, and then threatened me with prison if I talked about my evidence to anyone. So after a good bit of thought and prayer, I said, "Oh no, you don't. Not to my Constitution."
Well, those people are on their side of big government, or the side that I'm not on.
Yeah.
I'm definitely on trying to reduce this government down to some manageable size.
Yeah.
But Trump's trying to do that. And then when he brought this word up, nationalism, then they immediately associated him with Hitler and everything else. Boy, this media is something else.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the media wants to impeach. They want Donald Trump gone. He's the first president since JFK that has challenged the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI senior levels. In other words, the shadow government. And they're terrified. They've got skeletons in the closet. They're afraid they're going to really be audited. Their budget is secret. They're afraid he's going to see what that budget is. So they're trying to destroy him and get him out of office because he's the only president since JFK that is scrutinizing what the shadow government especially and the deep state is doing. They want him gone. And they're of course connected to the mainstream media.
Are some people equating him with and describing him as an Andrew Jackson or not?
Oh, I think that's why he has that statue of Andrew Jackson, I think, behind him big time.
Because Andrew Jackson was an enemy of the banks. He closed down the banks. During his administration, he did close down the banks.
He shut down the banks and he invited the people into the White House.
He invited them. And you know what? Trump is a workaholic in the Oval Office.
I don't know.
No one has worked as hard as he has in the Oval Office. I see him working night and day.
Most other presidents are speech givers. Everything they're done is written. Their whole schedule is detailed. They go out and they get up and they read the teleprompter and they give a speech. Not Donald Trump. He's in there working. I don't know where he gets the energy, but he's in there actually doing the work instead of just giving speeches.
Well, I've had a little differences with him because of that ego thing. You know what I mean? I mean, gosh, if he could overcome that. I broadcast during their election. I said the real you could say, challenge to President Trump will be if he can overcome the ego, and then I think he can make it even better and become greater. You know what I mean? But that ego, it just he pops off too much.
It's giant.
You know what I mean?
Well, you got to look at it this way, though. If he didn't have that kind of ego and then fearlessness,
I know what you're saying.
He wouldn't be able to do the job.
You accomplish things. Men accomplished a lot with egos, but there comes a time where you got to manage your ego and not let it manage and dominate you.
There's some times when the tweets come out and we're like, I wish he hadn't have said that.
I mean, my ego, I was ruinous for me. I was young.
I'm
not anymore young.
Exactly.
Well, I want to thank you very much, Kevin Shipp, for being with us this evening, and we certainly do appreciate all the hard work, and we certainly do value your care for America is evident in your action, your words, and your love for the country and your love for your family.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, and I appreciate very much what you're doing. So it's great. It's great to come on.
Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you.